Greetings and welcome to another Tomorrow's World webcast. My name is Wallace Smith, and this issue keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we will continue to watch it for you. We have the U.S. Attorney General coming out concerning the controversy between the federal government and the state of North Carolina in the United States, which, by the way, no bias here, but our headquarters is actually in North Carolina, but we don't participate in politics, so we're not actually voting or anything like that. I'm certainly not pressing a policy, but there is a lot morally to take a look at this circumstance. Just recently, in fact, this op-ed from the New York Times I'm going to be reading is from May 9th, so really fairly recently. We had U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch come out and take a strong stand against North Carolina's recent laws that the governor signed in North Carolina that requires people to use the bathroom according to the gender they were born with. People talk about the gender assigned at birth. It's not actually assigned at birth. They're actually born male or born female. It's just the way that works. And it's a law that requires people to go to the bathroom based on the sex they were born as opposed to what they want to be or believe that they are. And the U.S. federal government is talking about denying funds to North Carolina and to the university there here in North Carolina and all back and forth. Well, the U.S. Attorney General has really come out strong with a strong statement in which she essentially seems to equate this kind of stuff with U.S. civil rights legislation in the past or in terms of the civil rights movement and effort. Let me just read a few selections from this. The New York Times in this op-ed. Oh, actually, let me give the title of the op-ed in case you want to look it up yourself. It's Loretta Lynch's Enlightened Defense of Transgender People. Clearly, it's an op-ed, and they're evaluating their opinion of her speech. Concerning the Attorney General, it says, she put the current battle over laws that seek to regulate which restrooms transgender people may use in historical context and assured transgender people that history is on their side. It quotes from her speech where she says, "This is about the dignity and respect we accord our fellow citizens and the laws that we as a people and as a country have enacted to protect them. Indeed, to protect all of us." Continues to quote her, she says, "And it's about the founding ideals that have led this country haltingly but inexorably in the direction of fairness, inclusion, and equality for all Americans." They point out in her remarks on Monday, Ms. Lynch, a native of North Carolina, seemed to go further than other administration officials in casting the quest for transgender equality as a civil rights movement. She did so with grace and conviction. I will say that, yes, she definitely did so with conviction. I will say this, that many people in the government and many policymakers and policy influencers clearly do have a conviction about these things. Whether she did it with grace, I would say that there was a certain kind of human grace in what she said, but was God's grace present? Let me get to that here as we get to the close. She points out that, at least in her opinion, that bills like what North Carolina has passed, forcing people to go to the bathroom that actually matches the gender they were born with, that they reflect a recognizably human fear of the unknown. And I have to disagree. It's not a matter of fear in a lot of things, and there's a lot of knowns in this. A lot of the people I see that are concerned, it seems to be about knowns, not so much unknowns. Now, she does point this out. She says, what we must not do, what we must never do, is turn on our neighbors, our family members, our fellow Americans, for something they cannot control and deny what makes them human. Now, before I get with what I disagree with, let me do comment that this shouldn't turn into something violent. It would be terrible for, frankly, the confusion that's engendered in all of this by confused people to turn into violence and assaults. And if that's what she's working against, I agree. We should be able to talk about these kinds of things in a civil manner, certainly with passion, but not with blows. And so I hope that's what she's addressing. But I want to highlight a couple of things that do concern me. First, what does she mean by, what we shouldn't do is turn on our neighbors and not care about our neighbors? Well, let me be really clear. Creating a world and an environment that essentially begins to prevent people who have gender dysphoria, gender identity disorder, and that actually encourages them in that confusion and enables them, as opposed to encouraging them to overcome it and provide the help they need to overcome what is a disorder, what is a confusion. That is like turning on your neighbors. Will we take someone who has an eating disorder, who thinks that she is fat when she is thin, and say somehow it's against her rights to deny from her liposuction until she just completely wastes away in front of us and dies? That is like turning on your neighbor and failing to care about them. But in particular, what really jumps out at me is this comment that somehow expecting and hoping and trying to help people to overcome their gender confusion is somehow denying what makes them human. Let me address the Attorney General directly if she happens to be watching, and anyone who's watching, and frankly make sure I understand this. That Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 make it plain what makes us human. What makes us human is the Creator God who made us in the first place. And it says very plainly in those passages, and reaffirmed by Jesus Christ, that He made them male and female. And to deny that design and to deny its designer is to deny what makes them human. You know, the federal government and all these other governments of the world increasingly, and policymakers and academics in universities may think they know people better than God does. But they don't. He designed them. He knows what's right and wrong and what's helpful and harmful. And I can guarantee you, they do not love these people more than their Creator does. Thanks for watching. Please check out everything else we have available at tomorrowsworld.org.